Hi, welcome to week 4. This week we're going to be talking about the social development of infants and toddlers. Before I start talking about that topic, though, I want to acknowledge that this week you have an assignment to make an appointment to do your first observation. So hopefully you know someone with an infant or a toddler, or you work in an infant and toddler program. But if you don't know anybody who has an infant or toddler that you can observe, and you don't work in a program where infants and toddlers are, then reach out to me this week so that I can help you find an infant or toddler to observe. Skagit Valley College has Head Start and Early Head Start programs, and they always welcome students from our department to go and observe children in their programs. So it's really easy for me to connect you up, and they're located all over Skagit County. So no matter where you live, hopefully there's an infant toddler program close by that we can hook you up with. Okay, so don't wait. Please set that up now so that you are able to do the observation and turn it in on time. Okay, so social development. I'll just say I find this stuff fascinating. I think that development is amazing. I wrote some notes that I want to make sure to go over. Okay, so the first thing that I want you to learn this week, hopefully some of you already know this, but I definitely want all of you to walk away with this knowledge, that infants engage in conversation. So a conversation between two people has a back and forth rhythm to it. I say something, you say something. For example, right now we are not having a conversation, right? I am just saying stuff. I'm doing a monologue. I'm just talking, and you aren't giving me anything back. But a conversation is where two people, at least, are giving input and listening and talking and listening, and there's a back and forth rhythm. And I'm sure you've had the experience of having a conversation with someone who's not that good at having a conversation. Either you talk and they don't say anything back or don't say enough, and the conversation kind of falls flat, or they talk so much that they don't give you a chance to, they keep talking and they don't give you a chance to say anything, and so it's not a back and forth, it's just them talking. So I was on a date once in my early 20s, and I was at a restaurant with a guy, and he talked so much that I finished my entire plate of food before he had eaten like any bites, because he just talked and talked. And I remember being really embarrassed that other people were gonna notice how much he was talking and how much I wasn't talking at all. So that guy I never went out with again. He was not good at conversation. He talked way too much. So there has to be a back and forth in a conversation. So infants do a back and forth with you. You make a noise, then they make a noise. You look at them, they look at you. You make a funny face, they'll make a funny face. Like, there's a back and forth to infant adult conversation that's there. And so those of you who have the opportunity to actually observe infants as opposed to toddlers, I want you to make note of that in your observation. Is how does the infant control the conversation? So sometimes the parent might look away or quit engaging with the child, and the child might make a noise to bring the parent back, because that infant wants to stay in that back and forth. It's very satisfying, that back and forth, for infants and adults. So an infant will try to control the conversation, which I think is fascinating and amazing. Okay. The second thing I want you to pay attention to is, and this comes up in the reading, is that at 9 months old, children realize that other people have minds and thoughts, and that they might be different than their own. Okay, they're starting to have that capacity. And so this is evidenced by this idea of joint attention. So when you are looking at something, a 9-month-old can see that you're looking at it, and they will look at it too, right? So babies younger than 9 months old will look at you, and you'll look at them, you'll look at each other. But at 9 months old, you're able to both look at the same object together. Okay, so infants at 9 months old start to pay attention to what other people are looking at. So that's a neat thing. And why that's neat is because, one, infants have to know that children have to learn that other people have minds and wants and desires and perspectives of their own, because that's part of being human, is recognizing that it's important for me to know that not just I have opinions and needs, but that other people do too. So this idea of joint attention is that kind of the first step of that. Like, oh, I see something and they see something at the same time. We're both seeing something, and recognizing that the parent has a different perspective than the infant. So that discovery is really, really big for kids. The other thing, and this is the part of development that I find fascinating, is that ability to to notice what mom is looking at develops at around the same time as a child's ability to crawl. So before they can crawl, they're kind of stationary. They might roll over and make some movement that way, but pretty much they're stationary, and pretty much they're safe. As long as there aren't things around them that are going to hurt them, they aren't going to get in a position where they're going to hurt themselves. But when they start crawling, that's not true. So it's important to have a mechanism, biologically, evolutionarily, it is important to have a mechanism to keep a crawling baby safe. And the mechanism that does that is this idea of joint attention. That the infant can crawl, and if they don't have good judgment about what's safe and not safe, but mom knows what's safe and not safe. And so at 9 months old, the baby's able to look at mom and determine if what they're doing is safe. Okay, so picture this. We're going to watch a video, this module, where a baby crawls to the edge of a platform. And there's plexiglass, so it's actually safe, but it looks like it's called a visual cliff. It looks like it's a cliff, right? And so the baby gets to the edge of that cliff, that visual cliff, and doesn't know if it's safe to go on. And so it looks at, the baby will look at its mom, and depending on the face that the mom's making, the facial expression the mom's making, the child will decide whether it's safe to crawl over that visual cliff or if it's not safe to do it. And the baby will make that decision based solely on the mom's facial expression. So at 9 months old, they know enough that if mom goes, that they shouldn't do it. But if mom smiles, go on, that the baby can go and that it's safe. They trust mom's judgment, and they can tell what mom thinks about the safety of something just by looking at her face. So that's amazing that in 9 months, a child develops that ability. So joint attention is a big deal. And what is so exciting to me is that the social and cognitive development, the ability to do that, matches up most of the time with the motor development that makes it necessary. Because if a child can't check in about whether something's safe or not, they can't tell if something's safe or not, we as a species just kind of don't survive, right? It's nice that as soon as we're able to really hurt ourselves, we have the capacity to figure out what's safe and not safe just by looking at our parent's face. It's pretty amazing. And so now I have another one. The next step is pointing. So a baby can look at something, mom's looking at something, and the baby looks at it too. That's joint attention. Then at a certain point, the mom is able to point to something, and the child can follow that parent's point and know what the parent's pointing at. And vice versa, the child can point, if a child wants something, they can point at it, and that signals to the mom, they know that signals to the mom that they want that object. And that develops at the same time that first words develop. So pointing, because often it wasn't that the child wants it, it's that the child points to it and they want to know what it's called. Because at 1 year old, they determine that everything has a name, and they can figure out what the name is by pointing at it and finding out from mom or dad or caregiver what the name is. So again, this social development of, hey, I point to something, and then when I point at it, it makes you pay attention to the thing I want you to pay attention to. I mean, that's amazing. In my mind, I think, oh, I want you to pay attention to this. I can't talk yet. How do I get you to pay attention to it? I point at it, and now you're paying attention to it. That develops at the same time that they start to be able to say words, to me is just amazing. That that development is, to me, it's development is all planned, and it just all works really beautifully together. Okay, I want to see if there's anything else I wanted to say. So we'll get more into it. There's, like with all of these topics, there's so much to know about this, so you're just getting a taste of it. But please, if you have any questions or you want to know more about something, I want to tell you more about it if you're interested. So ask me, and yeah, okay.